take a comfortable sitting posture. In here, we are closing our eyes and try to be with your sitting posture, just like as if you were trying to keep the pace with walking meditation. Here, you are trying to understand or try to focus or try to be aware how does it feel in sitting. So therefore make yourself comfortable and adjust it in a way you feel comfortable, and mildly close your eyes and try to be aware or try to be mindful about your posture. If mind is jumping like a monkey mind, never mind. Again bring it back to the sitting posture and try to keep as much as possible with the sitting posture. So we will say we are trying to be mindful on the sitting posture. We try to be aware on the sitting posture. We try to be here and now. Okay, we will go now for about 15 minutes. I will ring the bell at the end of the sitting session.
She went to the auntie's house. It's where, say if there's a bad event, you have to find the bright side about it, and you have to think under any bad circumstances, what's the good in all of it, like that.
Trying to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances.
Yes. Yeah, and I would recommend everyone to read it, because it's such a good book, and it's one of my favorites too. So yeah, Thero, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I would like to get some more copies and keep it with Pia. So those who wish to read it, you can borrow it later. So I really appreciate because I tried my best 2 days, yesterday and tomorrow, even to see a copy in the market. It was not available. So therefore it is a, it's a good opportunity. Thank you very much. And now we are going to see Pollyanna for a few minutes to see the glad game. So now we are going to just see the one episode to how she introduced the glad game. So you have to look at the whole film. You have to look at the whole film, so day by day we will go into that. But if you wish, you can download it. It is explaining how to be glad under any circumstances. Whatever the mishap, whatever the disappointment, whatever the irritation, there is a reason. If you can know the viewpoint, there's a reason to be glad. So this is the best way to teach Metta Bhavana, the mindfulness, the loving kindness. So therefore, I will ask him to day by day show it little by, and make the books available for those who wish to read it, and that means the glad game as well as the marshmallows test. So we have spent about more than 1.5 hours. So now I would like to open the session for question and answers. Still more chocolates? So that we have just presented the topic of mindfulness, how to do walking meditation, and about the glad game, and about the marshmallows test. So anything you wish to have more clarification? Yes. Why?
Why do you feel comfortable when you do the walking meditation, but you don't feel as much comfortable when you do the sitting down?
No, I got the question now. So what about the others? Do you feel more comfortable and more mindful in walking than sitting? Anyone, how many, can you put the hands up? Those who confirm, telling that walking meditation is easier than sitting. Other now, okay. Now the others I will give a chance. Those who experience more comfortable and more mindful in sitting than walking. Okay, that means he is correct. More happy and more mindful and feel comfortable in walking meditation than sitting. It has been much observed whenever you are introducing mindfulness for the children, it must be with little bit of activity. Then it is easier to keep the track. And it is also observed for very elderly people also, that is the same. So whenever you try to introduce mindfulness for the middle-aged people, sitting, walking can happen, but for the children, the best way to introduce walking meditation. So therefore, that is because it is with little bit of activity. So now my question is, how many steps you can keep mindfully without distraction? Yes? That means one pace, going up 30 steps. Yeah. She says about 30, that means from starting from here to the other end, just can keep the pace, just can keep the left and the right leg. Yes?
20?
Yeah. 20. 10. Some others, those who wish to share with us. And now the question is, now she says 30, 20, 10. And if you wish to make it 31, if you wish to make it 21, if you wish to make it 11, what must be your approach? How to go into the one step more? Any way out, ways and means to give one more step mindful, to be mindful in walking? That means to make you mindful, you have to keep more and more steps. The person who has experienced 30 feet must try to make it 31. Of course it is not exactly 30, but this is the way. And the person who is experiencing the 20 almost try to keep it 21 feet, steps. On the 10 must be 11. So likewise, day by day, you have to put that into practice and try to be more mindful, be in walking meditation with mindfulness. And whenever you are introducing, specifically for the children, it is best to start with walking meditation. And whenever the children doing walking meditation, it's a good inspiration for others also to be mindful, to be meditate. So therefore, it's when you are in a family, mindful families, you can make use of time, and it must be regularly you have to do it. That is the secret behind it. Day by day, you have to do maybe 10-15 minutes daily, then slowly it will become one of your day-to-day activities. Any other questions that it is worth? Yes?
Why did we watch some movies?
Why? Just to introduce glad game. Glad game means whatever the difficulty happen, you must try to find a reason to be glad. So this film is showing you practical examples when the Pollyanna had a lot of reasons to be upset, a lot of reasons to be disappointed, but she always tried to find a reason to be glad. Ultimately she teaches the same thing to the whole village. So therefore it's one of the ways, one of the teaching technique film. Of course it is a recent method. Earlier it was not available. Yes?
How does patience relate with mindfulness? Like from the marshmallow test, how does it relate with mindfulness?
Yeah, what is the relationship between the patience and the mindfulness? Whenever you become mindful, only you can understand how much you are impatient. When you are not mindful, it is almost you become impatient. But when you try to be mindful, slowly, you understand the question, who am I? What kind of a person am I? How much impatient? So if you can introduce or to how to observe yourself, impatient at a very younger age, it will be a very good insight about yourself. Otherwise you get angry, you are fighting. But this marshmallow test is a kind of a design test to see how much you can be, you can develop patience, and it is given with a reward. And when you study the same person for 40 years, they have found it's a very deep-rooted character, and that is very important character for the society. And if you are mindful only, you aware. Otherwise you don't know. So therefore mindful people understand how much impatient we are. And then it helps you to understand, help you to overcome impatience and try to be patient.
Does doing the marshmallow test at an older age still make an impact on you and your patients, or does it only apply to those of a younger age?
That's also very interesting, because younger age, your character traits, your likings and dislikings are not much expressed. So therefore your instincts explain. But when you go to the old age, there are a lot of likings and disliking, personal characteristics, personality, so very difficult to judge it. So therefore younger age they have selected. But even if you are going to do with the old age, doctors will complain because you are eating sugar, improving diabetes. Then you have to give not the marshmallows, you have to give something other. You have sweet teeth, but the elderly people, they are very, very cautious about sweets. So they have to give something other test. Shall we decide such a test later, so that a lot of elderly people are around?
If we meditate for a long time, can we see our previous life?
Can we hear? Yeah. Whenever you come to the present moment, only you open the views, open the avenues to the past and the future. Otherwise, you are only bonded with one side, either past, either future. When you come back to the present and you have to familiarize it, you have to be very seasoned with it, then you have the ability to go retreat or going forward, but it is not assured. That other way we can put it, the Buddha mentioned chirakatampi, chirabhasitampi, sarita, anusarita. Whenever you develop mindfulness, the things you have heard much earlier, things you have told much earlier, easily you can remember, because your memory is very lucid. So it is very good for studies. When you do studying with mindful mind, you get kind of a photostat memory. You can whole thing remember. So that is why in the schools in America, they have started St. Franciscan schools on principles. They say, look at your mind 10 minutes before starting the class. Teachers, the rector, everyone, and then only going for this thing. So it is something related, but not to the past life, but your previous studies and kind of thing. So have a hope. So he can't decide to whom to give the chance.
Does stress have to do something with the mindful mind?
The stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is called, now it's America, it's a very famous way, mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So when you are undergoing 4 months course, a measurable reduction in the tension. So therefore, whenever you become mindful, at that very moment you are not in tension. So more and more you become mindful, you know how to do away with the tension. Otherwise you will get worked up and the pent up energy can happen. So therefore very much related with the mindfulness, with the stress reduction.
Why do we do this when we do sitting meditation?
Not necessarily. It is not necessary to have the postures, gesture of the hand. So you can see some people sitting on their knees, and when you are walking also, some people bind your hand in front and behind. Whatever may be, a comfortable posture, not necessarily keep it like that.
The thing for the glad games, can you also do it by meditation?
The glad game is not related to meditation, but indicates, otherwise, if you do not know the glad game, you are always depressed. You are always finding disappointed, and you find fault with others. If you know the glad game, you are not finding fault with others, your mind is occupied to see the good side of it, the love spots in the situation. That is what the metta bhavana, or loving kindness. So whenever something goes wrong, you are not worried about the others, you look at your mind and see how much reasons are there to be glad.
How does the marshmallow test help you do meditation?
You can understand how much you have the patience. For example, when you are sitting and meditating, mind is about to jump, sounds, thoughts, pains, and mind becomes so impatient and you don't know how to handle it. But if you know, my mind is, it is my duty to keep it in the present, here and now, and so much so other distractions happen. If you develop patience, you know still amidst of little bit of sounds, little bit of pains, still you can be patient, look at in the present moment. So likewise it is not directly related, it's something related in an invariable way, informal way, and therefore first and foremost thing is you understand you are impatient, and the second thing is you see possibilities to be patient and not to worry about the distractions, but to be with the primary object or your present moment.
Would you be more successful in the marshmallow test if you were older or younger?
You have to just repeat the question, please.
If you did the marshmallow test, will you be more successful when you're older or younger?
That is not been tested yet, but this has very recently also came out. This has been done in 60s, and that particular person, Mr. Walter, he has done with the children at the age 4. But that can be tested, as I suggested, for the age groups maybe different multifarious results. And only thing is, don't test with marshmallows. Because elderly people will complain with diabetes and all the kind of thing. How long?
How long do you meditate?
How many breaths you can see? How many breaths or how many steps you can be mindful? No, I have to get the answer.
Oh, sorry.
You are disturbing by the marshmallows. How many steps you can walk mindfully?
I don't know.
So that means to ask how many minutes or how long. First and foremost, you have to understand: can you do 1 or 2 steps?
Yes.
Yeah. So increase it little by little, and even if it is impossible, again come back to the beginning and do 1 or 2. And if you can give me 5 minutes, I'll be very, very happy.
Yes.
Can you?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes.
Sure.
Is the marshmallow test trying to test about the children who's greedy about sweets?
That is the thing you are testing. And if you are greedy, you are losing the second marshmallows. If you are patient, you are going to get the second. So that is how you are balancing the benefits and the greediness. Then you can see the young children, they just wanted to smell it, eat little bit, and they become impatient. So when we are looking at it, we are very happy. But if you put into that situation, you are in a hell of a trouble. Because your greediness is one side and the benefits from the other side. So, and no one to give you advice. And there's one clip. That particular child, he take it and eat directly. He won't wait 15 minutes. No problem. But that is because he is losing the second marshmallows because of the impatience to become fired up by the greediness.
Are we going to do the marshmallow test?
Are we? So we are going to do chocolate test. How patient you are to wait and ask questions.
Who created the marshmallow test?
That is one Mr. Walter. Very recently also the test became popular. Earlier they have done it for 40 years. After this mindfulness came into the more popular to the mainstream, marshmallow test appeared like a very good way of teaching to introduce what does it mean by mindfulness or patience and impatience. That later there are some clips, that particular designer, Mr. Walter, is being interviewed, and his psychological explanation about the marshmallow test, he also has learned a lot by experimenting. But he is the founder, Mr. Walter.
In the glad game, can you just start it at any moment?
Can you start at any moment? Yes. Every moment you are glad, you are the winner. But you will be more challenged when you are disappointed, when you are irritated, when you become sad. At that moment, if you can become glad, double positive. Each and every moment, try to be glad. Why not?
When you're older or younger, do you do belly meditation?
Older or younger?
Do you do belly meditation?
Belly meditation.
Meditation.
That means whether you are old or young, whether you can do meditation.
When you're older or younger, do you do belly meditation?
Yeah.
Better meditation.
No, that is, earlier they tested to see when to introduce mindfulness the most youngest age. They reduced and ultimately they found age 6. You can introduce mindfulness, but very difficult for them to be consistent and regular meditators. And in the America they started at the age grade 4, that means age 10, and there onward you can do regularly, because they very difficult to adopt into the timetable. Now the educationist as well as the neuroscientist, everyone trying when to introduce earliest as possible. So therefore P.R. Mahathya has selected age 7. Because otherwise they can't sit it here and 15 minutes kind of thing. But the Buddha mentioned earlier the better. Younger the better. Younger the better, right?
Okay. When did the marshmallow test be created?
1960. In 1960, that means more than 50 years before.
Did someone make them the glad game?
Someone like?
Did someone make the glad game, invented the glad game?
So this is one Mr. Elinor Porter. She has read the Bible to see 80 places they has given reason to be glad. But no one is looking at that side. So ultimately she invented this game. So therefore the author of that book, Elinor Hodgman Porter, she is the person. So when I was in Burma, and my teacher told she must be given the name Madam Metta, because she is the one introduced without any religion how to be glad and how to be loving kindness. So whenever you are in the glad game, you only see the love spots. You never see the dark side of it. So when in the you see the silver line in the dark cloud, you never look at the dark cloud. So only you see positive side, glad side, or love spots. We can say Elinor Porter is the Madam Metta.
How do we do meditation when it's noisy? How do we do meditation in a place where it's noisy?
Yeah, it is very difficult at the beginning, so that is why when we are meditating, each and everyone must take care not to develop irritation, because even if you are very senior, advanced yogi, when the sound happens, you get distracted. So when you go to a meditation centers, this is one of the characters, they select the surrounding must be very silent. So what the Buddha recommended was, go to a forest, sit under a tree, or go to a solitude place. So that is why as she asked whether the atmosphere surrounding affecting your meditation, yes. So therefore at the beginning you have to select silent places.
If you have a desire for something, how do you stop that desire?
We are not going to stop the desire. We understand the desire as desire, which is quite a natural thing. So before you understand the desire and desire, if you're going to stop it, it is a hatred. It's a kind of antagonism with the desire. So it is the food for desire. So therefore, instead of suppressing the desire, instead of getting rid of the desire, understand when and where it is happening. So that is the way first you do the diagnosis and then the therapeutic part later. Understanding your desire when and where possible, you are the master. Otherwise you become a slave to the desire.
I Why did we even watch the marshmallow test? Why did we even watch the marshmallow test?
So otherwise we don't know how to introduce the patience, the importance of the patience, how to wait patiently. It's a very good character. So marshmallow test is a criterion to introduce it, that your patience can be measured, and it is done by giving a gift. And each and everyone, whenever you do it, you can understand little bit how much we are impatient. So impatience is the most disturbing thing and destroying thing in our life, the gladness. If you are patient, you are glad. If you are impatient, you are not glad.
When you're playing the
glad game
and all your bad thoughts come, how do you stop getting the bad thoughts to come?
Yeah, when you are starting to do the glad game, you can see the Pollyanna. She is coming and she see her auntie's house is very, very big. It's a mansion. But the auntie selected the worst room. No furniture, nothing. So Pollyanna goes there and she finds difficult to play the glad game. And in the book it says, she found no mirrors. So it's a bad thing. But later she played the glad game, she found a lot of dots in her face, but because no mirror, she can't see them, so she is glad. If there is a mirror, you can see the spots. And there is no mirror, so Pollyanna made a point to be glad, because I can't see my ugly, this thing, because I don't have a mirror. And she makes so much of reasons to make a glad game out of this, the attic. So of course glad game is necessary whenever you are irritated, whenever you are with the bad thoughts. So instead of bad thoughts, instead of the glad game, if you are going to work with the bad thoughts, you may up to naughtiness. But now you are not going to do any commitment with the naughtiness. You see the glad game, how can I put that into the positive way?
When doing meditation, how do you stop getting distracted?
Get distracted. The first and foremost thing is, as she mentioned, go to a silent place. But even then, when you go to the silent place, there may be some distracting sounds, thoughts, pains. And therefore, when and where no thoughts, no pain, no sounds available, if you can understand how many steps you can keep, how many breaths you can observe, that indicates how efficient you are, how mindful you are. So you are going to take the best opportunity when and where there is no the distracting thoughts. So therefore you are not worried about the distracting things. Try to make use the areas where there is no distraction. So more and more you learn the technique, how to introduce, how to be mindfulness in the here and now. With time, slowly your distractions reduces. So your main aim is not to get rid of distractions, but to be mindful in the present moment. When that is increasing, distractions are going off. Otherwise you develop hatred to the distraction, that is bad.
I've got 3 questions. My first one is, why a marshmallow? My second is, can you test the children as a job? And if there is, what's it called?
The first question is, why the marshmallows? That is something provoking desire, the sweetness to the child, so then they become impatient. So therefore marshmallows is a good test. It's a provoking, and give a chance. If you are patient, you get the benefit. Your second question, please.
Can you test the children as a job?
At the?
As a job.
Joke.
What do you mean?
Job. No. This was a very rare coincidence. It happened. Out of many tests they have done, the marshmallows test, that particular person tested it 10 years time for 40-50 years. Then only it became a very valuable information. Started with a coincidence. It is not a job. And the third question.
No, I said if there is. Sir, there isn't.
I
asked if there is, what's it called?
If there
But there isn't. A job.
No, it is not a job. It is kind of a coincidence. It happened, and now we are trying to understand. If you can test it early as possible, then it is a prediction about his or her psychological situation. It has become a criterion. Slowly it is becoming, not yet. Okay, now it is becoming 7:15. So I will give you an assignment. I don't know whether I am becoming too much then. Can you write a little essay when you go back home on sound of silence? When the sounds is disappearing, how do you feel? How do you experience? And what is the experience of sound of silence? Is it too much? Or something possible? Or I can say what's the sound of the one hand clap? Because yesterday when I am finishing, I thought we are going to meet only yesterday. But today, the Piyamahat mentioning, I was so happy because we are meeting again and again. So therefore tomorrow we will definitely go for a little bit of marshmallow test as the Pollyanna and sitting, and some few of you can write the experience of sound of silence. That will be a very good thing to be discussed. Okay?
We got 2 more days, so you can keep your question. Maybe you can, tomorrow you may get time to ask your questions.
So tomorrow
don't be disappointed.
Yeah, we are going to have question and answer session.
Okay, let's worship Bhante.
Sukhi hontu, abhivadana silisse niccang vaddha pachayino, chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhang balang, ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca, ato nibbana sampatti minati samijjatu. May you all be healthy, wealthy and happy. Sukhi hontu.